I'm Koeshall from Through the Fire Training Organization. We're here at my gym in Tyler, Texas called the Metal Shop. Today we're going to continue on with our 5-count Sumbrada explanation and some different variations that you can add into your pattern. So hopefully you've watched the first video released about 5-count Sumbrada, where you learn the basic pattern and 3 different variations on a response to 3 of those attacks, 3 of those angles. And again, just to cover why those 3 variations, you want to start putting in many different viable answers to those attacks, many different viable blocks or defanging the snake, of destruction of the weapon hand. The reason why we use those 3 again are primarily because they're very good answers for using a short weapon instead of a long weapon like the stick. So we want to have options that make sense. If you used the base pattern that we do with a stick, with a dagger, you'd find that those 3 angles just don't make sense. So we put in some different things to make it make sense, because in the next video we're going to be talking about doing this with a knife, with empty hands, with a long weapon versus a short weapon, with 2 long weapons in each hand, with a long weapon and a short weapon, and going symmetrically and asymmetrically against all of those different combinations. We'll also talk about doing it with a left hand domination or right hand domination. So today though, what we're going to be talking about is putting in half beats and feinting. Now in half beats, a very important thing to notice is, as I attack, when, as we talked about in the first video, when you are being attacked in medium range, I'm going not to block the weapon, but primarily to destroy the hand that's holding the weapon, or in the Philippines they would refer to that as defanging the snake. Again, the idea being, if I take the snake's fangs, it's not going to hurt you. You render him harmless. So as that weapon comes into play though, when I do destroy the hand, I must have a checking hand in place, because even if I destroy the hand in medium range, that weapon can still loop around and hit me. So I must use a checking hand to keep it off my body or my head. So I can't really add a half beat with my upper body if I am being attacked. When I attack, however, I am attacking with one hand, and therefore I can use the other hand to put in a half beat or to put in an offline attack. Why this is important is, if I draw him with a #1 shot, let's say, that first hit in the pattern, if he defangs the snake and has his checking hand in place here to make sure that I don't hit him even though he's defanged the snake, this whole sector of his body is going to be wide open. So therefore, when I feed here, I can feed on this side as well. If he takes his hand away from here to block this, he's opened up this line for this attack. Okay, so that's on the upper body side. When we do the lower body side, I can do a half beat attack anytime. The only thing, well, anytime it makes sense. If a weapon is going down towards my legs or my feet, I'm obviously not going to kick up into that weapon line. But as soon as I feed to this side, if his hands come here, it opens up the whole side of his body. I can kick with my left foot then and hit his right side, or his kidney, or his liver. So we can also do low line kicks from pananjakman into the feet, the shins, the knees, hook the groin, hook into the back of the calf, and we'll be demonstrating a bunch of that for you today. Okay, now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to add in, again, half beats, and we're going to add in some low line kicking, and we're going to add in some feinting that will force my partner now to react spontaneously to my stimulus. I'm changing the attack, forcing him to react. In the last video, I reacted differently to his attack, so I could choose when I was going to do it. Now we're forcing him to up his twitch response a little bit more, which makes this drill a lot more challenging. Okay, so you'll watch as we introduce this. Now, the interesting thing with the half beats is, again, if I throw out a shot here, when Lee defangs the snake, he must use the check hand. If he doesn't, if his hand is here, even if he hits my hand, incidentally or accidentally, this can still follow through and hit him. So he must check my hand. What that does for me is, in that second, I can throw a half beat to the open line, because he can't respond to both places at the same time with one hand. So I can't do it simultaneously, because then he might pick this up. I have to wait till he's already committed, and that's where the half beat comes in. Lee feeds me, the open line is right here, and he could put in a cross right there. When I feed him here, open line could be this side of his body here, and sometimes if I'm good, I can throw a savate kick right there to the kidney. When he feeds me here, I'm forced to go here. Sometimes Lee might put in a shot to my groin. I would suggest not doing the shot to the body, because right from there, if he throws that in, I can drop this down and trap his whole structure here. So when he feeds that shot in here, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's okay. So we'll start over again. That happens, is no problem. When feet in here, boom. Right there is an open line, but he has to be careful again that I don't drop this in. I like to put it in right there because now he's committed high. We come back here and we'll just start to flow a little bit, and you watch where those lines can be introduced. Now on the low line, I could pretty much kick whenever I want to, just so long as the weapons aren't going down towards the legs. Because my hands are both engaged here. Yeah, go, go. My hands are both engaged here. I have to check, but I still can kick the low line here. And just like that, we just play a little bit. It doesn't need to be pretty. What it needs to be is a half beat. Meaning, again, I'm not going to do this simultaneously. I'm going to make sure that Leah's committed here, and then on that half beat, I stick my shot in there. Right there. Boom. Boom. You'll be able to see where those openings start to fit in there. Now let's put in some feinting motions. What a feint is a fake. So again, I'm going to lead him to one direction, and then on the half beat, I'm going to attack in a completely different line. This will force Lee to react in a much more twitchy kind of fashion, which is forcing him to get out of sort of that rote mechanical methodology that drills can start to have. We want to get away from that as quick as possible and make this very twitchy. So if I come in here, the first feint I'm going to do is going to be, just flow with me please. So out of the base drill, I don't want him to know when it's coming, otherwise it's really of no value. So here I might switch the stick and come over to the number 2 line. He continues on the drill from where he's at. So again, I might feed here, get his hands to respond, and then abanico watik over to the other side, which forces him to come here. Sometimes, when I thrust the number 5 here, I'm going to get him to respond and then pull it out and thrust up to the high line here, which is going to force him to turn and then immediately pivot his body out to be able to respond to that. Otherwise, he's going to get stuck in the ear. Good. And continue. Sometimes I'm going to go to the 4 and then back up to the 1. Come here, don't go away. And then sometimes right there I just pull it out and insert it back on the 1 line again. So right there when he feeds me, I come back to my side again. And you can see by the perspiration on Lee's forehead that this starts to become a little bit stressful. And I'm pushing it a little bit with him. But the point being, it forces him to react, not just go through the drill like he's a metronome. We want to be able to force a reaction. That's why it becomes more of a reactionary drill and builds in you the responses necessary to deal with a real attack at this range. Okay, so I hope you're able to see now how you're able to add some variables into the pattern that will cause it to be a lot more spontaneous and a lot more challenging to respond to. Again, the key here is not to try to respond like a metronome. The key is to actually respond as if each attack is a viable and real attack to you. So it puts a lot more energy and a lot more intention, a lot more focus into the drill. Okay, I don't want you to just get in the habit of just going through a drill and like I say to my guys here, you might as well just go do step aerobics if that's the case. Have your mind involved, think about what's happening, and try to respond as if it's a real attack, and your training will go by leaps and bounds, quicker, more effective, much better, much higher quality response to those things. Okay, so as you recall, we talked about feinting on different lines, 4 different lines, and we also talked about putting in some half beats to help you recognize the holes in your opponent's defense, which will allow you to attack in the Bruce Lee's way that he called progressive indirect attack. So attacking on different lines to draw your opponent's defense apart and open up. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this. Next time, we're going to be talking about asymmetrical weapons categories. So using different weapons against each other in this pattern. We're going to do it with, do the pattern with knives. We're going to do the pattern with empty hands. We're going to do it with a stick and a knife. We're going to do it from the left-hand side, and we're going to do all those categories against each other. And you'll start to see where the coordination will start to pick up quite significantly.